Hi, welcome back to the Roundtable. I'm your host, Steven, and today we're doing part two of albums turning 45 years old in this year. Again, shaking my head, can't believe how old I've gotten and how old these albums are, but they're they're staples in my collection and I love them. So next up, Bruce Springsteen, Darkness at the Edge of Town. Springsteen walked in, I think, with about 70 tracks for this album, and it paid off. He had some good ones on here, like Badlands and Prove It All Night. It's an album I still go back to. It's one of Springsteen. It's classic Springsteen. You know, love it. If you look at Copland, Sylvester Stallone's character listens to that album throughout the movie, so it's made its mark everywhere, and for good reason. The songs are just phenomenal, and it's aged pretty well. Next up, I have the Rolling Stones. Some Girls was released in June 1978. This is a lot of people will probably say the last great or classic Stones album, and that might be true. Beast of Burden, Shattered, Miss You were all top 40 hits. This album grabbed Album of the Year at the Grammys. So that it's considered the last classic Stones album shows its power. Like I said, all these songs I can play all the time. They don't get old. So this is a great album. If you've never heard this one, you definitely need to go back and discover this one. Next up, we have The Who. Who Are You? This was released in August of 1978. The album came out unfortunately during a bad time. 3 weeks, I think, after Keith Moon's death, the drummer of the band. This album was released, and it was, I guess, a shock for Who fans. Keith Moon is considered one of the best drummers in the world, and rightfully so. The interesting thing about this album is that it was released during the punk movement. If we can even get past that Keith Moon is not there anymore, it was released during the punk movement, and this album doesn't sound punk. It sounds everything but. And that's what kind of always going back now listening to it, how it doesn't have the influence. It doesn't really address the punk movement, but it's a great album. It's just an interesting how it kind of doesn't reflect the time, but it does and it doesn't. It's just an odd thing. You have to hear it to understand what I mean. But just think it's in the punk era and it doesn't sound anything like punk. That's like saying a grunge band during the grunge era not sounding grunge for those people who are a little before the 70s. And that's it for part two. Let me know what you think of my selections. Let me know if you have any suggestions of other albums that you have in your collection. I'll be getting back to you in part three with some more selections. So smash that like button, subscribe. We definitely have to hear from you. And this is Stephen once again from the Roundtable, wishing everyone the very best for 2023.